Good evening to all our friends here at Desh. Today, 22 years ago, the 17th Jat Regiment and the 13th Jammu and Kashmir Rifles Regiment mounted an attack on point 4875 in the Mashko Valley of Kargil district. Leading the Delta Company of 17th Jat was a young Major Deepak Rampal. Major Deepak Rampal had cut his leave and joined his unit in late May when he got to know that his battalion is going to attack point 4875. Today, we are privileged to have this brave heart amongst us who's going to share his stories of valor and he's going to share the stories of the sacrifice of the men under his command. So, we at Desh are privileged and honored to have Colonel Deepak Rampal amongst us. Jai Hind, sir.
Jai Hind, and thank you so much, Deepak, my namesake, Anusia, and Adrija. Thank you for
Jai Hind.
calling me over here with you all.
So, sir, let's cut back to May 99 when you were at your home in Jalandhar and you were with your family. You were spending some time with your kids in the sultry heat of May 99, the summer of 1999, as they call it now. So, sir, take us back to that time and what was the atmosphere like? You had once mentioned that you were seeing the bodies which were returning home of the Sikh regiment. So, how did that affect you, and how did you make up a decision to join your unit immediately at Dras?
You're taking me back in time, Deepak, and at this the days of 4th of July in the year, brings back to me a lot of memories. But you have told me to go back a step further. In May, I was on leave after a long time. The unit was deployed, and we were working hard on the borders in JNK only. And Colonel Bawa, my CO, he gave me a leave and said, "You need a break. You have been at it up in the mountains for quite some time." So I was on leave, and the general area at that time is we were located in a place called Naugaon, almost about 20 feet of snow and the works. But nevertheless, the tiger was kind. He said everybody must have his rest and relaxation in between. So I was at home right from the snowy heights to the temperature, if you call, from minus 20 to about plus 45 right then and there. So as the time was progressing, one kept hearing that there were some militant attacks in JNK, and the news was also quite hazy. Suddenly, I got to know, because I'm from Punjab and my village is near the border itself. At that time, I was located in Jalandhar. So I came to know a lot of bodies are coming home for their last rites. And as I was already in that area in 98, I knew 8 was deployed in that area. And some of my intuition told me that things are not all right as what is yet being projected. So I
Sir,
tried
I
my
will just
best to.
interrupt you. I will just interrupt you here, sir. Brigadier Umesh Bawa sir has commented here that Deepak, you were my ace company commander decoy.
Yes, ma'am.
He is
He
listening
is.
to you, sir.
Okay, ma'am. That's great. I always feel privileged when Bawa sir mentions a word about me. In fact, he's written a recent book also, which is shaken up a lot of thoughts in a lot of youth. And I shall talk about the book a little later. So coming back, when I got to know this, and I tried to find out where is my battalion, because I had left it on a totally different ridge line, which is called the Shamshabadi Ridge. And when this all was happening, certain things I cannot share with you, all of you, but for national security reasons. But to cut the long story short, I went to the nearest military establishment and tried to find out. And as usual, there was not much of which was being shared at that moment. So I made up my mind that this is the time that 17 Jat, because our role was such that we would be in midst of all the action. So I went home and shared this with my wife. And Deepak, you asked me what made me, you know, uh, take that decision, because it is all happening in the spurt of the day. So my wife, she's actually, when you say Shiva Shakti, she's my Shakti behind me. She said with a smile, or not, I would say a smile, but with a firm determination on her face, she said that yes, you must go. right? If all the mothers and all the wives keep their boys and husbands at home, the sisters will say, no, my brother should not go, then who will go? My daughter was just about 6 years old and my son was 3 years old. So I said, okay, then if it has to be done, then I cannot waste time, because reaching to where my unit is will take me a couple of days. And my parents that time, they were in Pathankot. So I came home when I discussed this, and immediately she packed my little rucksack and he says, okay, off you go, boy. In the literal way, but I know in her heart she would be having a lot of feelings. And like a brave soldier's wife, she bid me adieu. And same day I took a bus from Jalandhar to Pathankot, and my parents were there because I wanted to take their blessings before, launching myself into the war zone. And one was not sure what will happen at the end of the day, but yes, I was sure that I will put in my best in the defense of our country. And next day, once I reached late in the evening, there was no way I could have gone to uh, at that time. So I stayed the night there. My mother, she was over there. I took her blessings, and she also said, okay, come back. If you have to come back, then come back with the flag of the nation flying high. Today she's not with us, she's in her heavenly abode, but her blessings were always there with me. And next day morning, in Pathankot, you all know there's a Air Force base. I had my course mates from NDA over there. So I requested them to, the fastest way would be to take a hop in a flight and move on from there. So there were some flights which were coming, but somehow the war, everything is little, fluid. So I didn't get a AN or something, but then I got a helicopter, and on that helicopter I reached. It was scheduled to reach on the same day to Srinagar, one of the biggest helicopters which we have, and thanks to my Air Force friends. And today a lot of thought is also going about synergy between Air Force and Army and Navy. Here at ground root levels, it happens in our country. It doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Sometimes things get misreported and misinterpreted, but that's for another day. So I took up that helicopter. They were very kind enough to me, and I reached Jammu. And from Jammu, then next day I was there in Srinagar, and rest of the journey, it began on that day. And 1st June happens to be the raising day of my unit, and by 30th May, on the in next 2 days, let's say 28th, 30th, I was there with my unit. In the evening, when I gave a call to my CEO, he said, Deepak, where are you? I told him, sir, I am very much next to you on the roadside. He didn't believe me. He said, I must be ringing up from Jalandhar or on army line or something. So I said, no, sir, send me your vehicle and pick me up, get me into Mashko Valley. That time I was in Kargil with one of another very fine units of Indian Army, 315 Field Regiment. And I was sitting, they were the people who were shelling and giving us artillery support across in our endeavors. So I was sitting in their ops room, and CO, the large-hearted man he said, "Okay, I still don't believe you." So then I made him speak to the CO over there, and he said, "Yes, your tiger is sitting here with me, and please take him with you. I don't want him here; he will create some chaos." And I had not acclimatized, because the rules were after 9,000 feet you have to acclimatize for a week and then go back. So CEO said, no, you must acclimatize. Man, because the moment I am with my unit and with my company, I am already acclimatized. Don't worry, I will take in all the oxygen required, and please, you don't worry. But CEO being CEO, then that night I had to spend in the camp with one of the photographs I shared with you with Dinesh Sharma. He was looking after the logistics. So I went back, but next day, without telling the CEO, I landed up right there into the battalion headquarters. They said, sir, all of you are being sitting here and the shells are falling. I can't sit in Matayan. There was a place called Matayan on the ridge line just next to Zozila Pass. I cannot be over there. I have to be with you and with the team. So that's how the journey began. One thing again I will share. It's all the young people who are listening. It's always, I feel, the family which is your support, which makes you take the leap of faith, I would say. I may if I can't say that if my wife would have said, no, 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 you can't go or something, my resolve would have been weakened, but not that I would not have still taken the step. But when I left behind, she said, don't worry about the children and don't worry about your parents. I'm there. You take on what you've got to do. So my call on this and sharing a very deep and a very personal thought with all of you is that it is the family which gives you the strength. It's the wind beneath your wings. It makes you fly. It can make.
They are the real army behind our army, actually, sir.
Very true, Adrija. That's what it is. And I think what I learned, my father was also from the army, is one thing which I learned in right from my childhood, NDA, and my army days, is that you have to respect the women force. And I remember a Sanskrit shloka which was there when I was a student. I didn't understand it much, but when I went through this and in my journey of life, it said, "Yatra yatra nari pujte, tatra tatra devte ramante." Wherever the women are respected, when I say puja pujte, is not that they you take a thali and all. You respect them, their value system, their presence, their contribution, and in that place there will be heaven on earth, swarg. It will be there. So if the wife is happy, mother is happy, sister is happy, I don't think one need to worry about what you will get with Lord Indra or whatever one may think about heaven or anything. The heaven is here. Happiness is here.
So sir, like in 99, you were a major with a service of 12 to 13 years. You were quite experienced by then. But then
Yes, I was.
you had men like Captain Anuj Nair, Major Punya, Captain Jangu, and all of them who are like just 3 or 4 years into the army. And whereas you had also had Jawans in your company who were in the early 20s or the mid 20s. So how was the morale, sir? How was the morale? How was the bond between the juniors and seniors like you, sir, in the battalion? Like when you were in the war zone, in the in
Okay.
especially during the months of May and June when things were very tough.
Right. Deepak, building bonds, whether it is a team or a family, is a daily effort. And it starts the moment you are a part of whichever way you would be. Right. And we say in infantry, what happens is we very closely knit with our men. That is, we rub shoulders, whether it is playing on the sports field, whether it is being on the having the food together, to doing each and everything. There are no something that you do this. It is always. And 17 Jat, my battalion, now we are called Mashko warriors. We believe that the leadership principle is, you just say follow me. You lead and the men will follow you. You don't say you go up the mountain and attack. You say I am attacking, you follow me. That was the principle. And yes, of course, we had young soldiers and young officers who were just freshly out from the academy. So leadership at all level makes a very strong this thing. And as a good thing which I think God also has his plans, what assisted us in our endeavors was that we were already in the counterinsurgency and JNK, and we were familiar with the terrain. In 1998, we had carried out large training in the same area, so we generally knew how the things would be. And secondly, when in May I said we were already 20 feet into snow, that gave us an element of being the troops were acclimatized, which for a person from plains is a big thing, because at least 6 to 7 days the body takes for the rarefied atmosphere to take on. So in this training, in this all activity, the question again, it pops up in my mind: how was the bond? I will share another side. The senior JCO of mine, he was a national level player of basketball, and he was one of the team leaders. So his age was, or I would say his service was about 25 years, and the youngest soldier was about 19, 20 years. So you can imagine, he said, Ki, sir, you expect me to climb the mountain in lighter vein. He said, sir, you expect me to climb the mountain with these young boys? I, without blinking an eye, said, yes, of course. Not only climb, they will be following you. They may get breathless, but you would not. And believe you me, Mahavir Singh, in fact, did the needful, and he was very much part of the entire activity. So building bonds, yes, it took time during our training. A very fine, freedom was given to us by my tiger, that is Colonel Bawa. And then over a period of time, it knit itself into a very formidable force. So at the times of pressure and the times when you said how it was when the bullets were flying, we were carrying out various missions, we were losing lives, right? But it was always there that the men were bonded and stuck to each other. Number of times in my things people ask me is, sir, afterwards you can make a lot of views and stories, and they said, so what kept you flag? Was it the flag which was flying high, or the national flag which was there? So I told them at that time, even in my mind, I was supposed to be an educated, young officer of the army. It didn't strike my mind about the national flag or anything. Yes, the task given and evicting the enemy was one, but what concerned me more was that my men who are with me, my buddies or who are with me, what will their family do if one fails in one's duties of leadership? Or, I am more worried what this man will say after 10 days of war, after 15 days of war. War is not going to last forever, but what will happen? I will do it for my buddy. I will not let him succumb to the enemy onslaught.
So like as you coined the term Mashko warriors, like which was given to your unit, like for 1.5 months the Mashko Valley was your home, Matai and Mashko Valley. So sir, like
Yeah.
how did this entire thing, the Mashko warriors, got itself associated with the 17th Jat? Because sir, you were I think probing the feature since late May. Like I think since late May, I think 17th Jat was the only unit which was invested in getting information from points 4, 8, and 5. So you can, if you can dwell on that a little bit.
Right. uh, 17 Jat at that time, now it is common public knowledge, so I can share it with you. We had something called, core reserves. It's a reserve battalion or a brigade which is available for the defense of the borders. So 15 Corps, which happens to be in Srinagar, was the main unit or a headquarters responsible both for Leh Ladakh and the Srinagar Valley. Right now, we have a regional corps which has come up post restructuring of the Kargil war. We have a 14 Corps over there and many, many units. Where today a corps is there, only very few, three mountain division was there. So when 17 Jat came in, all the units of three mountain division, they were on their static role. So we were available as a kind of a force which had to probe and find out where all the enemy is. And within the Kargil sector, we were given various locations which we had to probe, because at that time it was being said that it is the militants or the terrorists who have come across from Pakistan and that valley, and they have made their own camps. Later on, as we talk, I will share with you which all units of Pakistan we had, and we had firm proof and evidence of their documents. So 17 Jat got involved in all of this. We have gone to Marfola. I had led patrols behind Tiger Hill, behind Parijil of 8 Jat. So that was our area, and our headquarters became launched totally in the area called where our brigade came into Mashko village, which had been evacuated, and it was on from Dras. It was on an offset route. So as you said, how Mashko warriors. So the nation or the government took its time, and 17 Jat was awarded the battle honor of Mashko and theater honor of Kargil. So that is something
Kargil.
which we can write on our flags. Flag, as you know, has a lot of value for us, not only historically, and once you earn it, it is down the generations that it can be carried forward. So with Mashko, we said, okay, then the term when we celebrated, when we got the paperwork, so through a thorough check is made, because it takes a lot of time. It was didn't happen in 99 only, but it happened somewhere by the time we got it, somewhere 2005, 6. And in 2006 and 7, when we were said, it was granted by the President of India that 17 Jat can carry the flag in the unit is called colors, the colors of the unit.
Colors.
Yeah. So on the colors, now it has been written Mashko as our battle honor and Kargil as our theater honor. and the elder units or the older units which are there since the raising of the British times, even if they have fought in Afghan wars, or they have fought 200 years earlier, the details are mentioned on their flag for the young soldiers to see the history of the unit. So 17 Jat was given the battle honor of Mashko, and hence the name which we did on celebrating. Incidentally, God was very kind. When this entire process was to be done, I was at the command of the unit at Samba, and we had a grand function in where we called the veterans, the war heroes, the Veer Naris, and this battle honor of Mashko warriors was then coined, and we have it on our emblem.
Sir, while reading the book of Major General Mohinder Puri, I came across a point in which he stated that point 4875 was the most important battle of Op Vijay. When all the things were considered, like every battle is tough in its own way, but such a senior general, the general of 8 Mountain Division at that time, he had categorically written in his book that he was very worried about the battle of point 4875, because he has written that it was strategically the most important feature which was held by the enemy in that entire area. So if you can dwell on that a little bit, what were the challenges posed by point 4875 to our army, and how difficult it was when compared to the other peaks?
I have a lot of regards for General Mohinder Puri sir, and a lot of personal interaction during the war or post the war took place. But a slight peep back into time, what happened was, as I told you, 3 Mountain Dew was the force which was responsible for protection of the entire Ladakh sector. And obviously, today, if you see that instead of a core, instead of a division, there is a core headquarters there now in Leh Ladakh. Incidentally, I was a part of it in 2014-16. That is a different story itself. Notwithstanding, so General Mohinder Puri came in with 8 Mountain Division, and my unit and my formation, that is the 79 Mountain Brigade, was given in addition. 8 Mountain Div at that time was in Kashmir Valley itself and doing a lot of counterinsurgency ops. So the headquarters, and with a motley crowd, I would say, it was the leadership of General Mohinder Puri, that people who have come from the plains, the units which have been fighting and practicing in the lower reaches of Punjab, or the DCBs of Punjab, where Amritsar and all the people who came in from various places, they were brought in under his command and control, and a leadership to weld a very different crowd into a fighting team. That was what was done by General Mohinder Puri. That was his leadership, and that's how it all happened. So coming on to point 4875, as we were already there for a long time, what was happening from one side, if you see the timelines of May, June, especially June, when Tololing, Tortuk, and coming on to Tiger Hill, they all were following. So the Pakistanis were on a ridge line. Now coming on to point 4875, if on the other side, I said, you are entering Srinagar, from you cross over the Zozila Pass, come to that area Matayan, which is, and the highway comes right up to Dras. Now 4875 was one such location where they had their OPs. Had we not detected them, this from this ridge line that is a little farther, the Pakistanis would have come closer and shot on the Pandras ridge, which was dominating the highway right all along from Zozila to Dras. Imagine now if that road, which was the ultimate aim of the Pakistani plans at that time, was to cut off Zozila, take over till Dras, that means the supply route has gone, and ultimately they would be able to take on Siachen also. So cut off, do something like East West Pakistan in the 71 war. They wanted to sever this Leh Ladakh sector off from us. So 4875, Tiger Hill was on a limb. It was just overlooking the Dras town, the Dras city, but it could not dominate the highway. But on 4875, when after the war, we captured their artillery shelling. In fact, on the Pandras Ridge, 8 Mountain Dew felt that, they will come and locate themselves in the shadow of Pandras Ridge. As the headquarters was developing, there was a heavy shelling, artillery shelling, and that is how the headquarters from there had to move back and relocate. Why I'm saying all this is that Pakistani were of the opinion that even if we lose Tiger Hill, even if we lose others, no battle is less. But if we continue holding on to 4875, that is the time from Zozila on to Dras, a key route would always be in the control of theirs. Initially, this season, that is in 99, they planned that they will do it dominating by artillery fire, etc., and not allow us to build up our resources for Leh, Ladakh, and Siachen. The route from Manali to Rotang to this place had a lot of challenges. Now the Rotang tunnel is made. A lot of options have opened up for the Indian Army in the Leh Ladakh, and you see today, you're all following the news. The entire force which is there is being maintained additional because of the Chinese threats which have come up. But I'm just now focusing just on the front with the Pakistan. So their aim was that, and hence 4875. So what I was saying is, when we recovered their, various, after defeating them and killing the, it's a word I would say, for the soldiers on the other side, is that we found heavy uh, observation equipment which was there for the artillery, for other various issues, their communication, their network, and various things. So 4875, that way, was the key of turning the tide. Had by some reason we are not able to clear 4875 and the winter had set in, then the upper hand would go across to the our adversaries, that is the Pakistanis. So now I said I'll share with you that they were not militants, they were trained soldiers. It is down the history, it shared a lot of photographs, etc. And 12 Northern Light Infantry, that was the unit which was there across us, their Alpha and Bravo company, which was on the other side. And I must, all soldiers do what their bosses or what their government tells them to do, because in our democratic country, we are a part of the army, is just a part of one of the tools for negotiations, whatever you may call it, by the government. So they were also fighting, they were also sons of their mothers, husbands, but they did put up a very brave fight, I would say. A worthy opponent, they were not cowards, they were nothing, they fought till the very end. And I would, again, to their own soldiers, yes, the philosophy behind it is all wrong. They have come into my country, I would not let them live at any cost. But at the same time, whatever would have made that soldier, that officer tick, is what they did. They did a few wrong things, I would say. Not a few, they did a lot of wrong things, which I would say is a misguided soldier. The way they treated my regimental officer, Captain Kalia, as a soldier, is something despicable. I don't agree to it in any account. We are totally against such things. My soldiers also had a time, when they could go and chop off the head and disrespect. I said, no, we are soldiers. We are doing our duty. We are not here in the act of being barbaric in nature. If a other gentleman is, doesn't, I cannot, demean myself and carry that small, for a moment of glory, that I have done so and saying I have chopped off somebody. That is a done soldier. He's sacrificed his life. And in many books you would see that is at our post, all across, we gave a very decent burial to the soldiers who sacrificed, even of the Pakistan army, who sacrificed their life for their whatever, I would say, misadventures they had. So the Pakistani army was totally involved. Their artillery was firing, their soldiers were firing. They were right. They were no militants. They were a trained army who could not survive these altitudes. They were properly trained, properly equipped. The amount of weapons, if you see some of the pics I have sent, one or two pics which I've shared, they have their weapons also which were captured by us. We stayed in the huts which were made by them at their location, in that place. So that is how. And the final point which I want to say is, at 4875, at Whaleback, especially because again, between 4875 and Pimple Complex, Whaleback was a connecting ledge. It was connecting. So when I say Whaleback, it is flattish, but at a height of about 15,500. The distance is hardly anything, but each inch of ground cost my men their lives when we were clearing them in a broad daylight attack. So once we first reached one portion of the whaleback and other side 13 Jack Reef, very valiant war happening on the other ledge, and we went on to this side. That is the time the Pakistanis carried out their counter attacks on us. And I salute my men at, he said, when we said, day one, day two, day three, this is the only place where in the entire battle where continuous assaults and counter assaults are happening by the Pakistani army, because they knew if they could hang on to 4875, their part of the aim would have been achieved by keeping Leh cut off from Srinagar, the road from Zozila to Dras under their control.
Sir, so how did you motivate your men? Like, as you told that there was a lot of blood lost, like of the Jawans, and so how did you keep them motivated, sir? Like, Jats are already motivated, but then when they see bloodshed, when they see their own comrades falling in battle, it's a dampener, sir. So at that time, how did you keep yourself strong, and how did you motivate them as well, sir?
Yeah, you are asking certain questions which, in time I have also not had the courage to look within me and introspect. I will share. So whatever is now going to come out is going to be very spontaneous and not practiced. But when we were there, when in fact on 30th May when I had reached, before that, Colonel Major Punia, you mentioned. Under Major Punia, one probing attack had been heavily, I would say, wounded. We had lost Subedar Harful. We were going into totally uncharted territory, and the soldiers, luckily, I said we were acclimatized because we were already deployed almost, in chest deep snow. So when these soldiers went up and without any prior information of what is happening, and the enemy opened up on Subedar Harful's patrol, and which was being led by Major Punia at that time, another very brave soldier. So we lost Subedar Harful and seven more men at that time, and we could not even recover their bodies during this because the volume of fire was so heavy that we could not get the bodies back. And we only retrieved them after the war. And look at nature, it also respects the soldiers. It was so cold and freezing, and there was so much of ice that these bodies did not decompose. So when we brought them back after the war, after the whole 8th of July, 12th of July thing, and we sent our other patrols and got these valiant martyrs back. That is the time, the thing happens that uh, we were, what you are saying, that happens to all of us. So in our leadership building, I say, and I share it with the youth also, is that one must read a lot. I was, clear that I have joined the army. There would be, after 1971, there were times when an entire generation came and went back without a war. But we were already into counterinsurgency and things were happening, and I was accustomed to see the bullets fly. May not be any such thing, but yes, in an event and prior to that also. So one I said is a habit which we must all have. Apart from, I prefer reading the fine print in the hard books. So there is a book of Lord Moran called Anatomy of Fear. I call it Anatomy of Courage also. So if you keep reading, keep evolving, you have to as a leader. I feel that after doctors, it is the soldiers, or maybe simultaneously, we are the people who must keep reading about new technologies. Like we had this challenge of a drone attack today, right? Which happened in the Jammu Air Force Base. So somewhere the think tanks should be the ones who are thinking, preempting what the move is going to be by the enemy with various its technology, whether it is tactics, whether it is strategy. So coming to your question is that over a period of time, and I was fortunate to have been mentored by very fine leaders, and my, I would say, guru, who's no more with us in the physical form, in military warfare and the way of technique, was General R.K. Malhotra. I was his adjutant way back in where today you are hearing about Nathula and Sikkim. And under him, I was his adjutant, where I got a lot of time at Nathula to understand what makes a soldier tick and what an officer as a leader of men you have to be. So it is not a process which happens at the instant moment. You have to build yourself for it. Let's say if I were to give you a example, today if a sports person, very famous shuttler right from South Bangalore is there, or the badminton, she's won so many accolades for the nation, right? So she's trained day in and day out for that under her coach, and that's how she brought glory to the nation. I would say similarly for us also, is that we are mentored by our elders and we pass the chain on as we grow on. So coming to that particular moment when the bodies were there and the bullets were flying, and those 4 days where the intense battle is on, hand to hand combat is on, and I'm losing men. I have gone through first attack. We are settled over there. Counter attack has come. Another counter attack has come. Our soldiers are, I would say that tide is not yet turned in our favor. And I have lost on day 7. I've lost. That is on 7th of July. Lost also. I'm the person sitting over there. Anuj also, and before that, Ritesh has been gone. Punia has gone in for another attack. Things are looking very, very tough. Here at my side, an officer who's serving is Colonel Shamsher Singh, then Lieutenant Shamsher Singh. Was my right hand, you would say, a young man, just commissioned and with me for last about couple of months. And he was uh, a proper Shamsher, means he was greater than a share, greater than a tiger. He was my, you could say, doppelganger. So at that time, what you said is when I asked, should we go back? I'll just give you the answer by this punchline, which is there in the battle and it is alive, this thing. I think some of my friends in Signals, they recorded this message when the same question was being asked to me. And he was working in the communication branch. A long time afterwards, he shared that with me. He said, so I had got feedback from the men when you were asking, what should we do? Should we move back? He said, sir, आए हैं तो अगर if we walk back, we will walk back with the after placing the tricolor or after winning this over, or our dead body somebody will take back and go. So the exact words by the soldiers were, यहाँ पे आए हैं तो जिंदा ही वापस तब जाएंगे जब फतह कर लेंगे. So that was the motivation level. Even without food, without water, that's another long story in itself, because when you put your hands into the beehive, there will be many bees coming out, so many stories will be coming out of many actual things which happened. uh, the Josh was so high because I what I'd say, he said we will coming back before 4th also. So we could carry a particular load. The angle of elevation is high, no oxygen, no water and anything. So he said ki the thing you carry generally in Jat regiment, for 2-3 days, is you carry your puri and sabji and whatever, and that is what you survive on for the times you are on patrolling or ambush or something like that, or good chana. But at that time, in the Mashko village or Draz village, there was no good chana because we were much off from the plains. That is a staple diet and very nutritious. Generally, if you are in the plains, we pack with ourselves a lot of good jaggery, and chana is gram, roasted gram. It doesn't spoil, and you can keep munching in it. Yet you have that. In America, you have your diet bars and diet this thing. So our diet was good chana, but that time no good chana, so puri sabji was the answer. So once we went, the boy said, sir, let's forget the puris. We'll carry some water. And in that way, a soldier is, let's say, authorized 100 rounds to carry into the battle. So we never know how much more. So let's take in more bullets, ammunition with us rather than this puri sissing. So everyone was clear in their mind that objective has to be one, come anything, even at the cost of, कहते हैं अगर जिंदा रहेंगे तो पूरी तो आ ही जाएगी, पूरी तो खा ही लेंगे. But bullets, the resupply line would takes time. Once you have gone across the elements which bring upon your replenishments, you always say anywhere it takes time. So he said, okay, sir, we'll carry additional bullets, but we can forget about the puris. So that's how the Josh was there. And you have to have, I also very strongly feel you have to find a lot of humor in your day-to-day life. Even today, when the things are tough, you must keep smiling. So one more humorous incident I will add on to you, I have not shared with you as yet. So I had a player with me, a tall, young, lanky Jat, a very good volleyball player. Sukharam is his name. He used to support a Shikha. He used to keep a Shikha. You can understand, both choti. So that was the choti. So before we were to go in for war, so I said, okay, we were laughing at it. He's the only guy. So कहते साहब ये मेरा एंटीना है, ये मेरे को कनेक्शन में रखता है. Then I said, okay, अब सब के सब अपना ये जो एंटीना which is connecting them to their families, cut it off and forget it now. Now your antenna to your connection is cut off. It was in lighter when I said, now you forget about your family. Now you cut off and you start focusing on the objective in front. So everybody had a hearty laugh. And even today, my wife tells me, these days when I become a little sulky, he says, you have cut off here. तुमने अपना antenna काट दिया है क्या? So she always pulls my leg. Don't cut off your antenna. You have a lot of more duties to do.
So like telling jawans to forget about their families, like for yourself, मतलब आपको भी बहुत मुश्किल हुआ होगा. So what courage does it take, sir? Like before going to battle, like at this time, I think 7 p.m. on 4th July, this time probably you are mounting the attack. Right now, as we speak, 22 years back, you would have
Yeah.
probably started attacking the feature. So what courage does it take, and what is the morale that you have that you tell, "Okay, forget your family and focus on the objective"? And how
Yeah.
hard do you have to make your heart to tell that, sir?
Yes. Yeah. Um, Deepak, it is something which, this is lovely. You have brought on my team. This is after the war. This is on, although written 4th July, but it is this pic is after. You can see the tired faces. To my right is Shamsher, who's sitting. I am in the first row with the white goggles, and Shamsher is, as we are seeing the pic on the right, and rest of them, all of us are exhausted. We have yet to have even the water, because of so much of shelling was there. The ice was totally black because of the artillery shelling, and we were even short of water. But there was no dearth of courage. You can see all of them. We may be tired, but if we given a chance, there is another incident that we wanted to pursue the enemy and hit back right from where he had come, but we were held back by government orders. So after we had cleared the objective, the whole whale back pimple, after carrying out a daylight attack, this is somewhere on uh, 8th of July around 1:32. This is the time of this photograph. So we could say tired, but yes, not totally this thing. So everybody is in a pose where as much as rest you can get. So to your question, it takes, I don't know how God guides us. I would leave it at that. Is We are just the tools of the Almighty. So at that time, what one had read, one what had prepared, one had bonded with the men, and believe you me, you said they are Jats are the martial races. This thing, although was started by the Britishers, but any soldier, or as even I would go back in time and say that even Pandit Shastri, our prime minister, had said, the same iron could be used for using in a plow, and also to melt and make it into your swords for battles. That's why I firmly believe in Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. So these soldiers, Jawans, they were having faith in the leadership. That is for the company, it is the company commander. For me, it is my CO. So we had a strong bond of faith within each other. And similarly, the men, and amongst us, I had a faith in my men that come what may, it will never happen. There are instances galore in military history of our great Indian Army, that if an officer has been injured, or a soldier has been injured, or his body is lying over there, and it happened with us also, is that they will risk everything to get back the remains of the soldier or their injured body. On When the attack was being led by Anuj and we had lost him to the enemy, Major Punia, forgetting about himself, not saying to soldier XYZ, tum jaake jao and try to recover his body. He had fallen after that shell had hit him. Anuj was lying. His soul had left for, he had already a martyr. But we don't leave our even the dead behind. he was firing and he was fighting and trying to get it up. That's where Punia also injured himself very badly, had a very severe spine injury. And but enemy had woken up, and he enemy in fact the enemy was already away. It had daylight was breaking up. Till that time night is there, it is slightly advantageous to us also. But once the daylight breaks up, the enemy sitting on top of the hill, he can look down at me and he can see each and everything very clearly, and take pot shots and make his each bullet worth its aim. So that is the time, again I had to take a very harsh decision, because I was coordinating this battle also from much well back, and this is just happening in the area of Pimple complex. So I had to tell him that, come back now. You are alive, you can fight the battle another day. There's no point, I've already lost one officer. Now it's the time to create that kind of little fortitude and come back, hold yourself back, and at an appropriate time again go into the attack. But not before that, and there's no point in getting injured and then I don't have anybody left with me. So this entire thing takes something out of you, when you're giving this decision to launch an attack, to withdraw from an attack. And right when it's happening in front of you, and last 3 days, it has been such that one has not had a respite. It's either being shelling, either being sniped at. The counterattacks are happening, you're running low on ammunition, there's no water, there's no food. but but here I say, as I said, the josh was the man was high, कि सर हम यहाँ से विजय लेके ही जाएंगे.
Sir, once you mentioned it to me that you went into the battle without a gun. So can you tell our listeners about what was it about and how confident you were in your men, in the abilities of your men? Can you elaborate a bit on that?
Yes, again, as I said, that I am a fond reader of military history. So I was reading one of the battles, and some battles, even if one loses, there are a lot of lessons to learn from there. Operation Barbarossa was on, and that was a German operation in Russia, in Stalingrad, and the German army was losing, and a very fine quality of officers. I'm not talking about the SS officers who carried out the Nazi kind of activities. The soldiers who were there of Germany, they have also the Prussian soldiers. They were a class apart. Their leadership, their readings, there is something totally different. And the people who followed Hitler were a different lot, who were, I would say, very selfish, and the kind of activities they did on the Jews is unpardonable. And the way the world has taken them, and in fact it has put Germany back a lot. But their own soldiers, I would call the Prussian generals, was such that their readings and their writings and contribution to military history and art of warfare is tremendous. So in one of those things, it was snowing, it was sully, the troops were marching from trench to trench in Stalingrad, and suddenly they said that it started snowing more heavily. The orders which were passed to the officers was, please remove your trench coat, and the officers will not shiver. So when you're sitting over there, that is the kind of mind control one is says as a leadership. If the officer is not shivering, the men will, it's very simple. But that left a thought in my mind that the displayed leadership also creates a lot of, today you say, in your today's ad language, when I did my MBA, I came to know that there is a term for this. Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai. So, you leadership also has to be seen as that faith. How do I show my faith in my men? And once even the war was on, I was very sure my soldiers would say there are certain principles or there are certain tactics which have been there evolved over a period of time. So if the ahead of the company commander is one platoon, that is, I am a company commander, so ahead of me my platoon of roughly strength of 30 will be there. Platoon commander ahead of him, that is Shamsher was a platoon commander, ahead of him a section would be there, right? Another 10 men. That is how we are. The leadership is there, that at the first go you don't lose your officers, and that is not the time. There is certain thing which a scout is supposed to do, observe, is to reply to the enemy fire, let him do it. I can't do his duty and I should not do his duty. That was one of the principles I was working on. So when in my mind, I saw this, that as I said again, corroborating with the, correlating with the Anatomy of Courage, a book written, a very small booklet written by Lord Moran, who was a doctor incidentally in the Boers Wars and before the First World War. So I realized that if ahead of me, if I got a platoon, 30 men, if something happens to them, God forbidding, that the enemy has an opportunity to come and hit at the company commander, then I think I have not done my duty properly. I have no reason to be alive, right? And if I have no reason to be alive, then why do I need a gun for to do what? So to my men, I told them, yes, I was always carrying a stick with them. That stick was something. Do your battlecraft like a teacher's cane. Do your battlecraft. Use various tactics which have been taught to us. Do understand. Shoot to kill. We have just 100 bullets with us. Do not fire away, poop away. In your lot of PUBGs and all, you can keep firing, and suddenly you will get a gold coin and get 30 more bullets or 100 more bullets. I had no gold coin over there. My bullets would come later. So each bullet had to be made to count. And then when I did this, and this was a conscious decision, I said, okay. And I told it to my men, if you guys are there in front of me, you are my body armor. We didn't have these bulletproof jackets and all. What few we had, we gave it to the men in front. Everybody said, you must wear a bulletproof jacket. Manika, for what again? The reason is the guy who in front of me, he is my bullet proof jacket. He's the one. He's protecting me from all everything for them. So for my mind should be fresh. My planning, my strategy, the way we attack, and the way we go in for this should be such that, like Abhimanyu, not only should we attack and go into the Chakravyuh, break it, and bring my team back also from it. So that's what kept me thinking, and I very proudly say, and I carried that forward when I was in the Rashtra Rifles or anything. I was number of times ticked off by my senior generals. Rampal, you're still not wearing the bulletproof jacket. Manika said, I didn't wear it when the war was on, and I didn't carry a weapon then. This is the time, I will still not carry a weapon. My team, which is in front of me, I have so much of faith in them. And obviously, we have trained them to an extent. It's only God's grace. Something, winning and losing is at the Almighty's grace also. But the men are trained. We will go in for it. And that's how it was.
Fantastic, sir. Sir, can you tell, like, you had a few brushes with death during the battle, and once you told me that you're very lucky to be alive in front of us. If you can share that with the listeners.
Of course. Other day, when we were having a small chat, I said, if there is somebody who is a great tactician, you call him Sun Tzu or Guderian, another German general who brought about the element of blitzkrieg using the tank, a very good tactician and a strategist. So if somebody in the army, even today, he tries to become over smart and he says, "Ke bhai, tu Jat bhasha mein tu Guderian ban raha hai ke?" Or Rommel, you could say, a name which is heard by a lot of students. So are you Rommel or are you General? That kind of something. So if a soldier is alive, it is not because of anything great about the individual. It's just the prayers of your near and dear ones, the good wishes of your family, and the grace of God. So in this entire thing, and somehow I feel that God has something else in mind. If you are kept alive uh, for whatever, I am still trying to find out where to go and dedicate this life of mine. Uh, Desh is coming up to be the platform. Desh is something which is very inviting, and the last 2 days have been very, very, invigorating for me. They brought back the smile on my face. So when you said yes, two incidents I will narrate. It is first one was that when the counterattack was happening, and that is the first counterattack on 5th of July. I was moving up, and two artillery shells. Each artillery shell has about 10 to 15 kilos of explosive in it. it fell onto, with me were my two soldiers, my communication guys, who were carrying the radio sets along with me. So one was within my company communications, where we were on the whaleback, and one was with the communication with the CO, that is with Colonel Baba then. And that time it was on radio set only. We had not yet laid our physical line. It would take some by the end of the evening to for us to do that. So when this was happening, I was moving up, and I suddenly got a call message that the enemy is coming, getting up together. We call it amassing itself for a counter attack. So I wanted to be on that ridge line and see where and how this was happening. And moment I was there, another very fine officer of the Indian Army today, Colonel Shashi Bhushan Gildial, a Veer Chakra, an artillery officer, a very young, uh, I would say, couple of days from the academy. He was right there with us, and he's called the forward observation officer. He's the artillery officer who comes and who sees the enemy movement and directs our fire, artillery fire into enemy territory. So he was there. So I got this. I didn't believe. I said, till now nobody, no Tiger Hill, nobody has found that enemy is counter attacking you. I said, no, these types are trying to pull my leg and get me on top, because I told Colonel Baba, sir, we have reached and placed the national flag on whaleback. Delta Company has done its duty. So then I went over. I was moving up there. As I said, my place is behind the first platoon. So I'm moving up, right, going right to the edge of the sea, you could say, or edge of the precipice, to see where these Pakis are. The shell, they started shelling, artillery shelling, like we had done to them. They started doing on the post itself, and that is the time first shell fell on my right foot, and the next, within before that dust could settle, it was there on my left foot also, and a lot of dust was blowing around. And when we it all settled, God was so kind that Pal Singh and my Rajbir, who were my operators, they got some minor injuries on their hand and everything. And there's some, and I said, we are lucky to be alive. We neither I can say it's a state of shock or anything. The thing was, I have to reach the top. So these guys are bleeding. So I take out, we call it FFD, first field dressing. And I said, you guys need to go. No, sir. I says, no, a soldier is better alive than dead, as I said. I'm a firm believer of General Patton's theory. Don't die for your country, make the other bastard die for his country. So I said, you go get back. When you're fit, you join back the war with me. So we sent them to get their first aid. And I said, leave the radio sets. I took them and I started walking up. That's the time I feel that logically, and if you see the ballistics theory, there is no reason I should not have been blown to smithereens. All three of us should have gone. I think it is a good karma of these two boys. Both were devotees of God and very fine soldiers. God bless them. Both are alive and fit and doing well for themselves. And I am here in front of you. Uh, I, why it happened, how it happened, how I told you it happened on ground, but why it didn't affect us. There is no reason, because other than had it, that 20, 15, 20 kgs falling on our head, there that is as far as it falling next to your feet, and that to two of them, not only one, two of them. So here another a humor I will interject. So when the war was over and we were back, and the way we celebrate in the army is, we call it a bada khana. You have good food, and other people who like to drink, they have their drinks, and उसमें especially क्या जाट रेजिमेंट में खीर बनती है. So that is बड़ा खाना today. दाल भी बनेगी, खीर भी बनेगा, and you're talking पूरी बनेगी, you'll have hot sabji. So when that thing was on, and this is way back, after we settled down, came back from Kargil. Till that time we had no time and place for all this. So once it was happening, so I was telling, okay, share your, somebody to talk about whatever. So you have to interact again with the men for that trauma. So many things you call PTSD and all that. So you, as a soldier, that's also your leader part, to take them out of that thing by talking to them, making light of the moment. So I did not know that that day I will be the butt of the jokes. My weight has always been about 100 kg plus. So in number of articles somebody has written. So I said, you're a mountain tiger. I used to say, no, I'm the mountain bear. I have not the beer of drinking type, the beer of the mountains. So the boys were saying, कि सर जब आपके ऊपर पहला गोला गिरा, we thought that you're gone. And to pull my leg, he said कि सर हम में से ये सोच रहे थे who will take your body down, you know, you're such a bloody heavy chair. It will take, because you would have read bringing a soldier's body down, 8 men and 16 men. कहते साहब आपको तो पूरा कंपनी लग जाता ले जाने के लिए. We could, because we had already walked 2 nights. So I said okay, now if you are pulling their leg, they have also a right to pull your leg. So I said कि साहब आपको हो जाएगा. फिर another chap, you know, little more wiser and more, that time 2 more drinks had gone in, you can say. ठीक है सर, हमें जब दूसरा गोला गिरा we were okay. मैंने कहा ठीक है कोई नहीं. And now he is into smaller pieces after the war, because of the second blast it will be smaller pieces, so we will have smaller pieces to carry home back home. So what I said is that all this, that was the reality. If you see what we had already faced and done, and we had lost the soldiers, I am saying it now with, you know, looking back into time with humor. But at that time, if you remember the magazines or the articles, to bring back a casualty itself. And here I said, when my men were in the attack, I told them, nobody, no casualty will be taken back by us, because you mean you have lost 8 people for one person to be evacuated. The reserve company we will do. We will, like, you know, focused on our aim. We will continue going, and we will keep marching to the objective. Even if my best friend, myself, if I am also down, nobody should think that I will pick up this body or pick up this injured soldier. And here another incident comes to my mind, because I said you have done a you know, thing of putting your hand into the beehive's nest, so you have to be ready to listen to more such things. So when my attack was on, my buddy, who was thick and thin to me, even in counterinsurgency, Naik Dujinder, he got injured, and he said, uh, I told him, Dujinder, you are the closest to me in this entire battle, more like a son to me, but still, uh, I cannot give you any casualty. He said, no worries, sir. His part of this thing had to totally blown off. He put a FFD on him. He said, I'll go myself. And he went there. And a person whom we don't talk about, but today we are talking about, is the doctors. I had a very fine doctor with us, Captain Vishal Veer Sharma. There are only 2 doctors in this entire war. One is Vishal Veer Sharma, now a colonel, and Rajesh Adao of 13 Jackrif, who have got awards for gallantry, not for service, not this VSM and all, during the war. And again, you said, what is the bond? The men trusted him so much. He said, कि साहब एक बारी डॉक्टर साहब तक पहुंच जाए, we will live. And believe you me, anybody who was injured in the most severest of ways, Vishal was there next to us, just a, you know, one feature behind, working under the lalten. Lalten, there's no electricity, so kerosene wick lamp. Whether it is a bullet injury, whether it is head is blown off, he's doing certain such things that anybody with Vishal, his name was Vishal VV Sharma, Captain VV Sharma साहब तक पहुंच जाएंगे, हम जी जाएंगे. I have soldiers who can narrate, you know, n number of incidents where Vishal went and did, like, truly he was God personified for these men, for all injured men. And at a battle where doctors would generally say, yaar hum to piche hai, I don't have the light, I don't have anything, I need an operating table, I need this, that, with whatever crude equipment of light, and you could not bring more light, because if you light it up, the war is on, the next RT shell will come on to him. So behind a rock, no OT, no sanitization, nothing. He is but still working at it and getting the men back alive. We lost a limb, we lost some body parts, but that's okay. But still alive and back. So this is the kind of, you know, activity which happens in the war, and which says that at that point of time, it is just your interpersonal bonds which you develop, and that I think is true in life also. Wherever your bonds are strong, in any family, in any organization, any challenges one can take on.
Sir, if you can dwell on the role played by Captain Anuj Nair during the attack on Pimple 2, and what was your personal interactions with him before the war, during the war? If you can dwell on that a little bit, the role he played, the significant role he played on the night of 6-7 July.
Anuj is an ex-NDA soldier and belonging to the 100th course. That course has a lot of his course mates in this war, young soldiers have sacrificed, I would say, made the supreme and ultimate sacrifice. So he came in as a young man to us. At that time, we were in a place called Ganganagar before we moved into the Kashmir Valley. So he was very keen sports person and an outgoing, physically fit young man. A lot of josh in him right from those days, and determined to be an infantry officer in Jat regiment when he became a part of us. At that time when he joined, I was instructor in infantry school, and once I came back and we had to take the unit's advance party to, that is, I'm talking about early 96 and 1997. So Anuj was doing his YO's course and getting into the team. He was participating in various matches, getting, I would say, as a good soldier does, getting embedded into the ethos of the battalion. And once the war came up, and he was had integrated himself with the team of Charlie Company. Major Ritesh was his company commander, and Anuj was the 2IC. So on the first day, the attacks, that is the 4th of July, was done by Alpha and Delta Company. And once we had to clear the pimple, which was not yet clear, as you see, if you're seeing the objective, whaleback is on the center. On the right side is 13 Jackrif attacking, and on the left side, pimple. Partial of it taken by Alpha Company of 17 Jat, but yet not cleared. So this is the time. And even before that, in counterinsurgency, Anuj was very active, moving around, doing his duty assigned to him, his company, and a go-getter, I would say. Not finding the short solutions, but going in for the. In NDA, we have a prayer which uh, we recite every morning, and it makes a lot of impression on us and the young minds. One of the lines I would like to share with you. It says, God, guide us to choose the harder right than the easier wrong. Somehow it becomes embedded in us. And Anuj truly personified that. Always we'll go for the harder right. We will do it. We will do it. And this is how a young, motivated, physically fit, agile, and dedicated soldier is all about. So, as life was moving on, you have read and heard and a lot about him has been said. But right from the battlefront, what was happening is on the night of 6th, 7th, as you mentioned, initially Ritesh as a company commander was there and Anuj was with him. Like I had Shamsher, Ritesh had Anuj. Ritesh got injured and we had to evacuate him. So we told him to you fall back because he was bleeding. Incidentally, post the war in another operation, we lost Major Ritesh Sharma to the enemy of Vijay only. But in this particular battle, he got severely injured, so he had to be evacuated. The same way, his leg was blown off, and he said, "Okay, you fall back." An injured leader, you'll agree with me, cannot take the right decisions because his mind is getting fuzzy. The shock effect is taking place, and at this spur of the moment, Anuj comes in, jumps, I would say, into the forefront without hesitation. He's not looking back. He says, "No, the thing has to move on," and Pimple has not yet been taken, and our one of the attacks has been repulsed also. So see his determination, see the pressure. If you want to understand that he's already lost his company commander, for him he's gone now. He doesn't know whether he's alive or anything, but yes, he knows now I have to take on the responsibility. The men are looking at him, right? If he falters, then again this attack would come back as is not yet succeeded as yet. So Anuj jumps into that moment. He knows it is a frying pan. Literal combat is happening. He moves on and he's himself. I, the words which I feel little hesitant about, I'd say, let's say, clearing the bunkers full of enemy, killing them is obviously a part of it. So that is happening, and he is resolute. determined, I would say, is the word, because this is something you require. He's, got a love life at home. He's got his parents and mother who love him. Again, I said that connection to things of your family, you just forget. It is the buddy who's there in front of you. It's the man who's next to you taking the bullet along with you. You don't want to let him down. You would have seen in many movies, especially the Western ones, you cover my six. Cover my six means, 6 o'clock is the watch, and if you're in the center, you're looking forward. Cover my six means look at my back. Do not let my back be exposed. That means you convey to the person that you have my back. You are holding back for me. Something from behind will not surprise me. So Anuj was covering the six and focused. And in this intense combat of will happening, enemy is well entrenched. It's not at an open fight. He's sitting inside. uh, I had sometimes I'll share that photo. The enemy had dug into the mountain. Why our Bofors were not acting upon him? Why it was? Because they had made a cave into the mountainside. So you can't blow up a mountainside with as much of explosives you have. So in this condition, when the enemy is firing you from those entrenched positions, is the time when you're trying to clear. Here, again, history is resolute with examples. One LMG, one soldier, well determined, has stopped battalions of not moving through that particular place, because one side is well back. On the other side of the Pimple complex is a very steep fall, and a thing called Safed Nala, gushing mountain torrents, couple of 100 meters down below. So there's nothing else you have. You can't go behind the Pimple complex and attack him. It was tried, but it didn't succeed. We had a team working on that, but it didn't happen. So in this event, it's visualize the shelling is on, bullets are flying, and your men have lost life. You have lost your company commander. This is when the real tiger in Anuj walks up and he says, if I don't do, I'm just trying to visualize how I've seen him, how you're saying, if I don't do it, the entire thing will again be termed as a failure. So he comes right to the forefront. He forgets what I told you, that company commander has to be behind a platoon or any a section. He comes right into the forefront and takes the challenge and starts clearing the enemy in a hand-to-hand combat. And that is the time when he gets injured, and makes the supreme sacrifice for the nation. That is what Tanuj is all about.
So, like we have heard about stories of Captain Nair, Captain Thapar, Captain Vikram Batra, but there were a few unsung heroes as well who took part and whom we don't know about. Can you tell a few acts of unsung valor from your battalion, from your company, sir?
Yes, of course. Again, as they say, the valor is, you cannot quantify ki X was very brave, Y was very brave. Lot of it has to do with luck. How today, if I am in front of you, when God has been kind, got a Veer Chakra. There's so many people who have done more than me, and somehow it did not come to the limelight, and they could have been got the highest of the highest awards, right? So getting awards or getting into, I'll just share a contrary view also before I talk about an individual. You see, media also has its own role to play, and in this war, the literally, as it happened in the Gulf War, the war was brought into the bedrooms or the viewing rooms of each and every Indian who had a TV at that time, right? So you could feel the pain and anguish. And uh, a negative example here I'm giving is that in one of the attacks, Bakha Dutt started showing it live, and Pakistani army was also seeing that TV, and they came to know such a thing is happening. We lost a lot of men on that. So Tiger Hill per se was right on. How it caught the imagination is that India Today, when it was highlighting, is that they saw Tiger Hill accessible, photographed from Dras and taken care of. It caught the imagination of the entire world, I would say, not about India. And whether four Jat, what happened at Hanuman Top, 18 Grenadiers, what it did, 17 Jat, we were sitting in Mashko, there was no, people were not readily interviewing. I'm talking before the final war was over. And it is only in that Outlook magazine when they had a story of 17 Jat, and on their cover they had the national flag flying high with troops, which has become very iconic in the Jat regiment. And number of times you would see that photo being there. Is that media and the way things came up was it did happen. So yes, there are, each soldier, I would say, has a story to tell. It's only some of us who are lucky who are able to share it with you. And I have taken, and as I said earlier with you, that we will take it on as on the Desh platform to bring to life those s- the agonies, the pains, the fears, the bravery of the soldiers who have not yet been talked about. That's a point which I wanted to share with our audience. So one of the stories, well, I can't even call it a story, because it is a part of me. And I would say one of the incidents is that when the attack was on, and again I say the enemy was resolute. There was a sniper on the side of 4875 who had yet not yet been cleared. So on the morning of 5th, this gentleman was sniping at us, and you could take proper pot shots, and any movement which we used to make, he used to fire upon it, and we were losing men. And if one, his aim was injure one person so that somebody will come to you know evacuate him, and then instead of one, he will be able to take on one more and one more. So in this activity which is happening on the morning of both 5th and 6th, in one of the my boys, that is Naik Balwan, gets exposed. He's We have to try to dig trenches also. We have to cover ourselves, because there's nothing to hide yourself or tuck yourself in from this sniper. And what Pakistanis were doing, they used to do something very effective, is fire artillery shells in airburst mode. That means when you see the crackers on a Diwali, on some celebrations, there are some of them which go up blast, and they come into hundreds and hundreds of smaller particles, light it up the sky. But imagine it reversed. The bomb has fallen right on top of you. Instead of hitting the ground, it explodes in the air. So the shrapnels are spread like in a greater distance and causing more injury and casualty to you. A injured soldier is much more painful for you, for the people who are defending, because you have to treat him, you have to evacuate him. If a person is dead, you can still focus on your objective. His cries of pain will affect your people who are around with him. And here in such a thing, airburst is happening. Anybody who pops up, the sniper is taking shot. So Naik Balwan was initially injured by this sniper, and finally, as the day ended, he was he also made the supreme sacrifice. But the point is that here at Naik Balwan, he was resolute. He didn't allow any one of us to come and rescue him, because he knew that he's been that typical bait for a tiger. You put a goat, then more the tiger will come, and then the hunter will shoot him. So he hang on over there. He didn't ask for any mercy, or he didn't say pray कि ये हो जाएगा वो हो जाएगा. He kept goading on us कि we will not give up, we will not give up. And when you ask me what makes us all strong, is the life slowly ebbing away from a soldier in deep pain, yet he says we will not give up.
So, like, how, like, even 13 Zakrif was simultaneously carrying an assault on another point, another part of point 4875. So, how was the synergy between the two battalions, sir? Between 13 Jack and 17 Jat?
Okay. uh, the point is, mountains, first you have to understand how the mountains are. Mountains, you have a lot of ridge lines. So in a very actual close combat, is your direct firing weapons are, we call it mutual support. Let's say even between Alpha and, forget about 13 Jackery, between Alpha and Delta Company, when we were going in for Pimple Complex and Whaleback, the mutual support, that is our own weapons firing to assist each other. That doesn't happen, which would happen in a plain scenario, in a DCB scenario, in a desert scenario, right? But over here, you are on a ridge line at the fold of the country. Imagine your, my knuckles. If you can make it show it to you like this. These are the ridge. This is the ridge line on top, right? This is the ridge line on top of the mountain. Think this is, 4875 Tiger Hill, my knuckles. So if I have to reach, I have to take this. These are called fingers. Literally, in our map reading, we call them fingers. So you have to come up across a finger. There will be nalas over here in the gaps. There will be sharp falls, declines over here. So if this center was the 4875, when we were traveling, or even alpha and delta were attacking, there is a lot of physical space in between us. So mutual support is not here. Now, how does the synergy come? The word you said, synergy, is in the entire operations. When the operations were planned for 4875, it was decided that it will not be a one battalion attack. And in our one battalion attack also, we decided on to going for multi-directional attacks, so that enemy's mind is diverted from where is the actual attack coming. And even in 17 yards attack, we had attack from two locations, Alpha and Delta Company, the Whaleback attack and also the Pimple attack. It could have very well been only one. In Tiger Hill, you were just moving up one slope. So here, four different columns coming up to you and trying to bring that enemy down. That is where the synergy took place, and our operations, which were taken care of by 8 Dev General Puri, he gave us the blessing, go ahead, when he listened to our plans. That is how 13 Jacrif, after the first attack, was brought in. The high in by 30th of June, this entire thing was over. We built up, and on 4th of July, we had to launch. We had to build up our fire base. We had to build up ammunition, because right from Mashko village, which was down much down below, we had to walk up, come on to these fingers, s- put our ammunition over here. 2 nights, 3 nights, we were just dumping ammunition. And imagine, it had to be done in total secrecy. Could not let your plans out. This is where synergy, not between 13 Jackery, but other units who were assisting us, which came into play. Once this was established, till 4th of July, and another commando operations had taken place under Subedar Om Prakash, under Pimple complex by my unit only. All this had to be kept under wrap. Artillery had to come in for synergy, because could not give them an opportunity that they come from their bunkers, they come forward, because then you have to clear this, then come on to their face. Their defenses would have got stronger. That's how the synergy which worked up, which was with the artillery, which was there with the our soldiers, with other units which were existing us, which were helping us stock up. It was done everything in house, and everything being coordinated by we were the ground soldiers, being coordinated at the highest level. Here again, I say hats off to General Puri, right? He's giving his entire focus to, he knew the importance, so he's giving us the wherewithal. Sometimes we put our teams to, into action, and not, you would have heard, we want gold in the Tokyo Olympics, but the gentleman who's practicing for the javelin or the hammer, we are not giving them the training, the diet, or anything. So in our case, we got everything which we wanted, and we could do at best at that time. Another example of using technology, you see, again I said, you have to read. We had the missiles with us, French missiles. They had a night sight called Myra night sight. So in the night, you are blind, you can't see. We again, a very fine young officer, Nogan, he was part of the unit with us, with the team of his missiles. Missiles are designed to hit the tanks. They are anti-tank missiles, right? They are on the plane. So imagine if a missile has to hit a bunker up ahead. See how its center of gravity will change. Not decided to do this. We had tried hitting those missiles, but they were not giving us the desired results on the bunkers. So again, as I said, adapt and quick thinking. So he said, I told Satish, again, he's from Delta Squadron of NDA, one of my origins. When you said Delta, so Delta has a lot of connection with me. So from here, I told him what we can do. So he said, sir, these missiles are, they are thermal in nature. We need nitrogen cylinders for them. So as the attack was planning, the synergy part I'm trying to bring out, he said, okay, Satish, you please go and get those cylinders for us now, because at the fire base we have to control the battle at least till some extent, till the time we had night vision. We had very small night vision at that time, which were hardly, we could visit, not even see 100 meters. They had over a period of time totally decayed old stock. But this French missile system which was there's Milan, so instead of using the missiles against the laws of gravity, so we said, okay, let's use their night sights. So Satish went and brought this cylinders, because you need to keep, they bring about, the thermal imaging. You have to have a cooler's, your viewing surface from where you're getting this thing. So when the thing was on, this is another aspect of synergy. So the CO, nobody said, no, no, I will not give my, nitrogen cylinders to you, something like oxygen cylinders. They said, okay, take it if you have an option. So it was a concerted effort by the entire forces, I would say, in the nation. And I'm telling you, people who were coming for, people who were there on leave, who were coming back, and what we were hearing, the kind of motivation they were getting at the railway stations, the soldiers, each and every one of them. So that was something which pepped us on, and within the organization, how we were getting whatever we had at that time. We needed buffer support. We got it.
So
So 13
now when you
Jackrif,
speak about the
your
enemy
question
fortifications,
is 13 Jackrif. Just one thing. 13 Jackrif, yes, we were totally in synergy, and their CO at that time who was there, he's in the Northern Army Command. He's the big man over there. He's been in Leh also as a corps commander, and General Joshi. I have a lot of regards for him. Lot of other officers, very Vikas Vora, name them, and I'm in touch with them. We keep interacting, and the unit, a very fine unit. Incidentally, after the war, both of us were again in Lucknow. We got a posting, 13 Jackrif, and so a lot of uh, that, as I said, building up of bonhomies. 18 grenadiers, we were together before the war, in Ganganagar, then shared a couple of operations in the valley. So that kind of building of bonds has been there, and that happens to be the strength of our Indian army.
so now when you're talking about the enemy fortifications, when you're just stressing on how you use the missiles, like now, how, like you told that there are dug caves in the mountains, and we often hear about the word sangars and bunkers, like what were made by the Pakistanis. So if you can, for the common layman, sir, from who comes from a civil background, most of them who are listening to this are from that. So if you can explain to them briefly, like what's the difference and how did the Pakistanis use that to their benefit during the war?
Right. I'm sure all of you who are on Facebook would be watching various movies, and today even in Indian Hindi movies, policeman who goes out, he wears a bulletproof jacket, right? So think that any protection which you have ahead of you, if you have seen Mahabharata, you have seen Karna wearing his Kwacha Kundal, and the entire thing which prevents the arrow to hit him or the bullet to hit him. You have heard a lot about Kevlar jackets and whatever. So to the body to be protected, you need something close to you is a bulletproof jacket. Ahead of you, we call it field fortifications. If you are on a plane, you dig yourself down, and only your head and your weapon is firing at the enemy. On mountains, what you do, because if you dig down, you will not be able to see the enemy, which is, or that is, as the attacking soldiers, they will not be able to see us. So you have to be above the ground. Now, to be above the ground, you have two options. That is, first is, in a place where you think that battle will not be that much, is you build something called sangars. Sangars are, you pick up the stones and loosely pile them up together. Use a couple of sandbags and make it sturdy, like it's a wall in front of you, so that when the attacking soldier is firing, he hits the bullets are hitting the wall, and only your head or your helmet protected head, you're firing from down that small loophole, right? And that is a sangar which If when I use my rocket launcher and all, it will be able to penetrate and go through it. So in some of the positions you build up sangas, and in some positions you build bunkers which you make it into a little more stronger, use concrete, use cement, use more of mud, so that even if the rocket launcher hits or an artillery shell hits it, right? In planes also, when the artillery shell will fall from ground, a bunker will not be affected because it is protected. We have our own bunkers at various locations in Marfola, but where we are in defense, you take time to build up your bunkers. It's time consuming. Sangars, you can immediately, you feel a threat is coming, you plonk the stones together, it gives you a little additional element of protection. So where bunkers were there, there is a thing which we must understand, is that the enemy, that is the Pakistanis, were at it. When I say it has been carved into the mountain, I'll dig up my archives and I'll try to share it with you sometimes, that they had dug into that whole thing. That takes effort. Number of times their huge mule tracks were seen. When we finally came to know that there is something happening, when our Hector Recce showed us the mission, that there were huge logistics chains which were doing the needful then for the so-called militants, but which was actually the Pakistani army moving forward its machine guns, its mortars, its artillery guns. Right? You must have heard about a story about the Dirty Boy. It was one of the high trajectory firing artillery motors or artillery guns of the Pakistani army, which was dominating the highway. So it was very, very effective. With proper observation, they were able to direct our fire. Again, they were using the radars for counter bombardment much effectively what we now have. At that time, they had an upper hand initially. So to sum up is that building up a element of protection by way of construction with help of stones, concrete and field engineering, we call it, is a bunker is much more fortified, much stronger, has overhead protection. Even if the artillery shell falls, the soldier inside is safe. And sangar is something you have built up with a lesser time frame, and an assaulting enemy you cannot straight away get. But if a overhead shell comes, the it will affect the defender in the sangars.
So, sir, what was basically the distance between each fortification? Like while you attack, like 1 to 2, 2 to 3, like on Pimple 2, there were 4 sangars. So, what was the approx distance between one to another? Or was it like right behind each other, or was there some distance?
Okay. Again, this is going into the terrain of tactics and understanding the how the lay of the land is there, right? As I explained to you, the concept of a ridge line and fingers. So wherever you feel on that ridge line, the bunkers, one could be pointing, let's say east, one could be pointing west, from where I am expecting the enemy column to come up and attack. Right? It is not in a gradual manner, one behind, like the joints of my finger, first joint, second joint, third joint. It would be depending on from where the maximum opportunity for the attacker is there to come onto the objective. So when the Pimple complex we are talking about, it was a little broader. So on the side, as I explained earlier, was the Safed Nala, something a fast flowing river, but nobody could come from that side. So he had no need to build up a sangar or bunker there. But from where he expected us to come up, he had his on these fingers, ridge lines, before we could hit 4875. He had those, his, I would say, they are called field fortifications over there. So depending what you say, if it was your Pimple complex, he had more of them. Now, if I take you to Tiger Hill, it was a very small place. On top of it, he had a very few field fortifications. So that gives you an idea that all these things are depending on what is the threat and what is the kind of land available to deny that threat to the defender.
Didi,
You're asking,
anything
I think,
you?
too many technical questions. A lot of the audience may be getting bored.
No, 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 sir.
So
No.
you
So no, because
Sir,
in the
actually, I
common
was just,
layman,
yeah,
they should probably know this, because when you use that terms so that they can relate to it in the future, like when they read about the Sangaros attack or the
Yeah, yeah,
bunker, so that they
exactly,
can.
exactly. Very true, very
yeah.
true.
I'm
Sir,
all
I was
okay.
waiting for
I
some. Yeah, please, sir,
Yes,
please,
please.
sir.
No, no. I said the audience can also, if they have anything, they can share with you, and I can answer their queries too. But whatsoever is the best, you are the moderators. I'm here to be with you all.
And some, sir, funny stories, sir. You that helmet one and few more if you.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. The helmet one, I think, is caught the imagination of a lot of people. So you see, anything, everybody. I'll start off with a lighter note from my side also. Everybody is telling you these days, no, do not carry weight on your head. Do not carry weight on your head. From Sadhguru to any of the gurus, de-stress yourself. Take off the weight from your head. So helmet is a pretty out of now good versions are coming in, but at that time the helmet has its own weight. So when you put on something heavy and you're not used to it, it is against your, I would say, it's a natural tendency to not to wear it, right? If I tell you to imagine in your home, if I tell all of you, you all have patilas, please keep wearing the patila on your head throughout the day. Nobody would like to do it, and the first opportunity you will take it off. So helmet, although it is saved many a lives, and in fact there is a, I'll share a true life story also on this with you, on why the helmet became then what it became in the episode. So as I said, I was little strict, and like a teacher, or I would say tutor, I would always carry a cane with me. That was to threaten ki if you don't follow the rules, you're going to be whacked, something like that. So when I was there, I saw that people were little casual. My soldiers itself were very casual, and they were not wearing the helmets. So I said, the helmets have proven to moment you pop up your head, if you have got a helmet, if the bullet hits it, you are going to live. It is not that you are not going to live. So the point was everything it happened is not setting in. So I had to take some stern measures. That is, okay, if we are not wearing helmet for one, then the entire platoon would, who is not insured. I said, it's the buddies. If you're not wearing a helmet, it is your buddy's role to ensure you wear it. So if I am not wearing a helmet, my buddy will bring it and put it on top of my himself, put the helmet for you. And if you don't do it as a buddy, then there is a break in the chain. Nobody has done it for each other, so that entire platoon will go with me for an additional patrolling today, maybe 10, 12, 15 kilometers into the night. So once or twice I had to do that little magic also, because I said I mean my words, what I do, and what I must share with you. So the event happened, people started get using wearing the helmets. And in one of the operations, Subidar Chandram, I still remember his name, he got a headshot by the enemy sniper. It hit his bullet, it hit his helmet, and that individual, apart from the shock and everything, he's alive. He was alive in the war. When that helmet was shown to everybody, there it became, the lesson is say the test of the pudding lies in tasting. Here, the test of the helmet was live on its firing. I also, did fired on the helmet in front of them, put the weapon, and I said, see the helmet, put a small, you can say, sabzi under the helmet and fired. Nothing happened to that pumpkin, but the helmet took the brunt. But still, it didn't make a difference. Still, when Chandra was there, so once the war was over, and we had got an opportunity to take a bath. So the story comes in from there, that one of the soldier was taking a bath with a helmet on. So he said, "Why are you taking a bath with your helmet on now?" He said, "Company commander साहब ने बोला कि helmet पहनिए, तो helmet नहीं उतरी थी." So that's our
Sir,
life.
I have just
Please.
sir, I have just one question that as you said at the very beginning that even after the incident of Captain Kalia and the soldiers of Fort Jat, you were very, I mean, you all were in anger, but still you all cited the example of gentlemanship of the soldiers after the war, doing the cremation and all of the Pakistani soldiers. Just tell me one thing, sir, that how it is tough to control your emotion, because even we are in so much of anger after 22 years, and you all were, in a sense, you all were the comrade in arms with Captain Kalia. You were fighting the same war. So how much it was tough for you to control your emotion and to manage your soldiers after the war was over and after the operations were over.
Right. Once you see, this is again, in hindsight, I can always say I thank my teachers and my value system which I got from my parents, and also, you know, from what we are today, being Indians. So there has something which has to define me as a soldier, as a human being, and as a, I would say, one of the sentient beings which the Lord has created amongst us. So I'm telling you, on 8th of July, once we had carried out a daylight attack, we had, neutralized the enemy in Pimple 2. That is the only time I think I picked up the weapon, because Shamsher was saying, "Sir, I will go." I said, "You have picked it up enough, and this is going to be a daylight attack. You have not yet married. You got a lot to see, and let me take this on." So there is a old tradition. The toughest of the tasks have to be taken by the eldest of the site. So I was the eldest on the site. I had to lead the attack, and this is the time I picked up the weapon and I said, "Okay, we are now going in for a daylight attack." It has been couple of days. जैसे कहते हैं ना, आर पार की लड़ाई, अगर या तो वो नहीं या तो हम नहीं. So my CO said, "We'll give you RT support." I said, "No, sir, no RT support. Every time we fire upon him, he gets alerted, and this time let's totally surprise him." So that's another story for another day. But to your question, so once we did that attack, God was kind, and we earned, we were able to, neutralize all the enemy in that bunker and in that locality. And at that time, what we there was that emotion was running high in all of us. The adrenaline is pumping. Please try to think of it today. When Roger Federer or Djokovic, wins a point, you see the amount of energy he has, that adrenaline, or whether it is any of the ladies player also on any place. You have to really pump yourself up for such an
Absolutely.
activity where adrenaline rush is so high. So adrenaline is pumping high, and you see in anger, that's what again happens, and you try to lose sight of your reasoning. Right? It happens. One of my elders, when I was just commissioned, had told me in the written a letter. Uh, he said, "Ki in anger, your eyes close and mouths open. You try to get carried away by your emotions." So these were some of the things which were there in my mind. So the men said, we were all carrying our kukris, our das, and everything. He said, "Sir, they have uh, killed and tortured, because we were from Jat regiment. Saurabh Kalia was there, and the news was there. So the men were in total anger." He said, "No, sir, we will also chop off their heads and skin them alive and all those things, although they were already dead." But somehow I think the sixth sense prevailed. I said, "It is very difficult. If you do it right now, you will be living with that image throughout your life." And I don't know what happened, but at the spur of the moment, against everybody over there on the those old tired people you're seeing in that photograph which you showed, is all those who were there. I said, "No, we will be what we will be. We are not Changes Khans, or we are not anybody who are butchers. Somebody who has done, we will have our fight in a different way. But today, this is not something Delta Company 17 Jat will do. We will honor them, we will put them aside, and as the history is now saying, that we gave them as a decent burial, which was at that, again, a time media came in, they saw it happening live and whatever. But the men of ours in initially there was a resistance, but as one was able to explain to them that we are not what they are, we are what we are. So we will not do this. Bottom line. And again, I said it's the faith. I had faith that if I stand in front of them and put across my point, they will listen. And today, when I talked to them, I said, "Sir, you helped us take the right decision, because a mob, gets into the flow. You also tend to, when the water flood is coming, you get carried away by the flood. You have to take a stand. You have to be the rock.
True.
And again, for this, it's not me. It is through me, the value system which I learned from my elders, from my gurus, from my parents, is that what kept me strong. And the men today, I walk with amongst them, all of us with head held high. Nobody can point us for any war crimes or anything done
Absolutely.
in an inhuman manner. But these are all words which are coming to me now. At that time, it is we are what we are. We are soldiers. We are doing our duty. That's it.
So today, I mean, along with the technical detail of the war and various stories of the braveries of 17 Jat, we also listen about the real army behind our armed forces. That talked about his wife, his mother, and we have these wives, mothers, sisters, daughters in our home, and that's why our armed forces is fighting so bravely in the front. And today we listen. Yes, sir.
I Before you wind up, about the lady wives, it is not only my wife. I want to share very something which is imprinted on my mind about the lady wife. So again, that time we did not have these phones and all. A letter, it is there in the archives with us. So a lady has written to her husband, during the war. When you said what made us go, when you talked about ladies, it just struck my mind. This is something I cannot, you know not share with all of you. She had written in that letter, you can imagine, from a rustic lady, marriage for last about 10 15 years. My Havaldar, his wife, has written to him. He was my rocket launcher firer. She has written कि मैं आपके साथ, she's written in her typical Texan language, but I'm making it simple in Hindi. मैं आपके साथ रॉकेट तो फायर नहीं कर सकती. शी नोज हस्बैंड फायर्स द रॉकेट. आई मस्ट हैव शेयर्ड विद हर. बट आपके वो मुझे आता नहीं है, पर मैं आपके साथ कंधे से कंधा मिला के रॉकेट उठा के चलती रहूंगी साथ में. मुझे आप अपने पास बुला लो. दिस वाज द family which was there. I have
Beautiful,
a
sir. Gave
letter,
goosebumps.
Fantastic.
Amazing.
and one father's letter to his son who became a martyr, which we recovered in his pocket, was his father has written, छोरे तू देश के लिए गया है, अगर वापस आया मर के तो गोली छाती पे होनी चाहिए, पीठ में नहीं. What he meant was, if you die for your country fighting against the odds, take the bullet in your chest, do not show your back. So you said, Deepak, you asked me what was the equation. There was no equation to come back. No equation to come back.
Absolutely.
Either you walk back alive, or you will be carried back with the burst in your chest. पीछे से तो हो ही नहीं सकता. So that is the
So may we know
strength
the
of the
name of the
family.
martyr, sir?
Not yet.
उनका
It will
नाम?
be not yet. It will be coming in the book.
अच्छा.
Okay.
I want to.
Okay.
I'm trying to get the father on stage. It is his value system. I'm trying to get the lady to be interacting with you
Absolutely.
as we discuss.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I couldn't resist sharing, because it's not only my wife. It was the families behind, even the soldier from the village, whom we say कि यार ये तो पढ़ा लिखा नहीं है, तो rustic जाट है, इसको क्या पता होगा, इसकी wife उससे भी कम 5वीं पास होगी. But it is not that education. It is a wisdom. It's a value system. हमारे घर में हमें क्या सिखाया गया है? Today, what we are teaching to our children. That's what. Sorry, interrupting you.
No, sir. Absolutely.
Sir, if ma'am
We
is
are
around,
here
if
to
you
listen
can,
you today.
if ma'am is around, if you can get ma'am so that the viewers can see her.
Uh,
See the brave lady
yeah,
behind you.
she. I hope she's not in the. I'll have to. You'll have to hold the fort. I'm in a different room. I'll have to call her for a moment.
No, not a problem, sir.
She'll.
We can wait.
So just give me a minute.
We can wait,
Yeah.
sir. No problem.
Even when we discussed that we had lost 527 soldiers in Kargil war, it is actually 527 families that got shattered
Yeah.
forever.
Absolutely.
It's not only like only individual soldiers, it's the entire family.
I can still remember the headline of the newspaper. I will show it once I will get back to my home on 7th or 8th. It was written that the 4875 recaptured at the cost of 25 lives. In Bengali, it was written in the leading Bengali newspaper at that time, but I still can remember the headline.
She just. Uh, Vatsla is her name. She'll just join you in a second.
Sure, sir,
Okay.
sure.
Sure, sir. We are waiting.
22 years
Sir,
ago, the lady
actually,
who was 22 years ago, the lady who was behind you, supporting you, will be beside you today with us.
Yes, she's always with me. Yeah, that's. I think
sir,
again
a few
God's
days
grace.
back, I was just
So she's one
few
of the
days back,
reasons
I
why
was
Moscow Valley
just
is safe.
Namaste, ma'am.
good evening, ma'am. Namaste,
Namaste. How
ma'am.
are
Jai
you?
Hind, ma'am. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind, Jai Hind. How are you?
All
You're
well,
fine,
We
ma'am.
ma'am.
are fine, ma'am.
We are forever
That's
grateful to you,
excellent.
and you are an inspiration also for us, ma'am, on how to support a soldier.
Thank
It's
you
really
so very
inspiring,
much.
ma'am.
Thank you so very much.
Ma'am, do you have
Ma'am, you are.
any message for the younger generation?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Ma'am, do you have any message for the younger generation?
Do you have any message for younger generation?
Message for them is they should do well and make their country proud. That's it.
Hello?
Hello. Hello.
Yes.
Hello. Hello.
We can hear you, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we can hear you, ma'am.
Hello.
Yeah,
Ma'am,
ma'am.
actually,
Yeah, we can
any
hear you.
amount of gratitude is not enough for you. I mean, in the way you stood beside her during the war, it is just,
I
it is an example for us.
I think it is not like that. It is just part of life, and we are nurtured in that way. It is not something special or like that. It is not like that. It is just a part of life, and everybody is doing the same thing. I think anybody who's
Yes, ma'am.
into that organization, that person does the same thing.
Yes, ma'am. That's what actually Sir was also telling.
Actually, that is the truth. That is, he's absolutely right on this part.
We wish you all the best, ma'am. All the health and happiness for your future. I mean, coming days.
Thank you so very much and wish you very, very well in life. All the very best to all of you. Bye bye. Have a nice time.
Thank you so much,
Thank you
ma'am.
so
Thank
much,
you so
ma'am.
much.
I think Advija is getting some problem in her connection.
Yes,
There was
yes.
some, I think, again in lighter weight, she's used to hearing me, and as the boss of the house, she she felt that sometimes she's on the other side of the screen now answering questions. She has been a dedicated educator also. uh, she has been teaching and also taking a lot of time, spending time with the underprivileged children in bringing up their academic performances and imparting real life skills. So that's she's quite in with the younger generation in her own way. And as I said, we are at the age in life, we have to pay back to the society. This is the time, by God's grace, that something a little bit we can do for anybody is our pleasure.
Absolutely, sir. Sir, actually, few days back, I was just narrating a story to Adrija that it was during the early of 20th century when first the freedom fighters were starting to doing their experiment on making bomb and others. And the first experiment was done in Deoghar. It is a absolutely hilly region and barren region. And the young revolutionary who went to throw the bomb, unfortunately, that bursted on his own hand and he got martyred. And there were two more friends of him who were, standing just at a safe distance, and they could not even do the cremation of that freedom fighter because if anyone from the remote village could see the fire, it would be risky for them. And who got martyred, his father didn't know about anything what the son is doing actually in the name of college and all. So finally, the friends came to his father, narrated the entire thing, and they said that unfortunately what happened. And his father just sat for a few seconds without saying anything. And then he said that I have two more sons. If you require them, you can take them for your work. So that's the tradition of Indian families supporting the good job for the nation, for their sons or daughters, whoever is doing something for the nation. The family is supporting the tradition is quite a long tradition we are actually carrying. And
Very true.
yes, sir. And at the end, also, you emphasized on the tradition of the gentlemanship of Indian soldiers, which we are carrying. Even today, when we say that, how could you manage your anger? But still, at the bottom of the heart, we know that our soldiers are always there to protect the soldiership. So it is our pride that our soldiers didn't do anything wrong even after the incident of Captain Kalia. That is a real
Correct.
that is a real pride for us. And even to the world we can say that they didn't do anything inhuman even after all they did to our soldiers. So with this note, we are concluding our session today and with paying our respect to all the martyrs who gave supreme sacrifice during the war, during the Kargil War of 17 Jan, and we wish everyone, the war veterans and warriors, to have a healthy and happy life in the coming days. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Jai Hind.
Very privileged
Jai
to have
Hind.
you, sir. Jai Hind.
Thank you. And Jai Hind from my side. May God bless you all. And my final call over
Thank
here
you, sir.
is the nation needs the youth. And what we did, we are on the other side of 50s now. It is now my country which is in your hands, our country as the youth. We will always be there to support all your endeavors. All you have to do is reach out to us, and we will reach out to you. And from the veterans fraternity, from 17 Jat, and from my family itself, it has been a pleasure to being on with you all. And I wish you the platform Desh is able to literally, by the name it stands for, spread a message of hope, spread a message of being in the business. I would say the word business of caring and giving, because today everything we say is this and that, but you are giving your most valuable thing which you are holding with you, your time. So if it brings us together, takes us towards a little more happiness, and the times indeed are challenging, brings a
Absolutely.
smile to all of our faces. I think for the youth who's hearing, let us don't think, somebody, I had this question, ki, sir, we can't go to Kargil, we can't fight a war. I said, no, we don't need a war. We don't need you to prove your being a patriot, being taking the country to war. We just want that wherever you are, whatever you are doing, do it with honesty, do it with integrity, and be the best which you can. I had a gentleman who was just 12th pass. He says, sir, I'm just a sweeper. What can I do? I just sweep the streets. I said, you be the best in the whole city of Udaipur. You be the best sweeper. Let your portion of the street be the cleanest. Automatically, you have done your bit. You don't have to pick up a gun. You don't have to, go to the war zone. You just do it over here. So for all of you, my best wishes, my lots of love, and be the best you are. Be the best you are. Jai Hind.
Thank you so much, sir. Jai
Jain
Hind.
sir, and
Jai
salute.
Hind, sir.
Thank you.
Take care, sir. Yeah.